Sound speeds, and welcome to the Speed Bumps Podcast, episode 5. He just got through running a red light. That's funny. If you're not familiar with this concept, this is me driving home from work after I've done 12 to 14, maybe more on set, maybe less. Who knows if I'm lucky. But today, the day I'm shooting this, actually, it is a Saturday. Yes, I'm driving home from work because, hey, guess what? We were forced to kind of work today because of a actor and location availability issue. But anyway, I digress. This is a podcast that takes place during my drive home. I'm not going to be directing a lot of attention toward the camera, obviously. I'm just going to be talking. But I have the natural ability of talking nonstop and not stopping about a topic. So I figured I might as well turn the camera on, record a podcast episode, which is basically comprised of two parts. There is a part one where I answer a viewer question, and part two where I bring you additional pro sound tips. Now, I'm not going to blab anymore at the beginning. Let's get on into the content. Here's something I've been wondering. You always talk about recording on your Mix Pre 6, but only you and Curtis Judd ever seem to record on them. Most people record on their computer. Should I save up and get a recorder, or is it okay to record on my computer? You ask a really good question. Do you need to have a standalone audio recorder? No, not at all. As long as you have a way of recording your audio in a way that you're happy with, you could record on your computer, you can record on your phone, you can record on pretty much anything. Like, for example, a lavalier microphone that's very, very cheap. If you are going to be recording at a racetrack, it's going to be really loud. And you don't therefore need to worry about getting the cleanest audio recording possible as long as your microphone sounds as good as possible in the recording. As long as your gain is set correctly and your audio is not clipping, as long as it's not overly quiet, it's going to be fine because it's a heavy and background noise, environmental background noise type of scenario. And in that case, then you just need to be able to record it. Now, if you were recording in your home studio and it's really quiet, the television's off and air conditioner's off and whatever, and the background noise is really, really quiet, then obviously you don't want to have noises and that kind of thing in the background. And in that case, you need to take good care of your audio and make sure you record it properly. Having a standalone recorder in many cases will help with that. But even in the lav scenario, recording a lav directly into something like a Zoom H1, that's still going to deliver you fine audio for the most part if you're on a budget. But your audience is not going to know if you're recording on a $25,000 setup or if you're recording on a $25 setup unless it is just atrocious. If you don't set your gain right, if it doesn't sound like you care, then there's an issue. As long as you set things correctly and care about what you're recording, it's probably going to sound good. You don't need to get lost in the processing and over-process everything. It's going to sound fine. Don't nitpick it to death. Simplicity counts. And if you over-process something, then it's probably not going to sound great. So if you're recording on your computer, make sure you have a good quality microphone as well as you possibly can. Make sure your audio is set correctly coming out of the microphone into your interface recorder or mixer. Make sure it's recorded with care and that there's no distortions or anything like that are controllable sounds. If you have hisses and background noises, if you have a television playing in the next room, something like that, you need to address those sounds. Ask them to turn off the TV in the other room, because if it is not part of the podcast, if you're not doing like a story type thing where you're telling a story and there's someone watching a TV in the story, it's not going to make any sense to hear a TV in the background. So it's not one of those things where you can say, I'll process it out later. It's not a constant sound. Constant sounds you can process out much easier than inconsistent sounds. The audio in this podcast, for example, I'm using one of the best plugins you can, Clarity VX Pro. But even then, you're still able to hear some of the background noise of the cars passing me and different sounds simply because there's nothing you could do about those sounds, and that's the nature of what we're doing. The reason why it works in this particular scenario is because you see me driving. If you didn't see me driving, it might be a bit different of a story. So when it comes down to recording, do the best you can with the budget you have, but no, you don't have to have an external recorder as long as you have a way of recording your audio in a way that you're satisfied with. So for the segment where I'm going to be bringing you pro information, that is going to be kind of an interesting topic because it's one that sounds really good on paper. If you were to say, I work in the film industry, ooh, how glamorous. No, not really. You get to meet actors. Yes, so what? They're people. You get to do all kinds of really cool things. True that. The problem is, though, it's extremely hard on the relationships you have with your family, your friends. You don't have much of a life. You're in constant exhaustion. I know people who retire, and as soon as they retire, like within a few months, they die because their bodies no longer are being pushed to simply get through the day, and they spiral downwards in health really quickly. It's one of those things where this industry is extremely hard on us. Now, if you don't understand why, let me set it up for you. We're gone for long amounts of the day. I will routinely get up at 3, no, probably not on the show. On the show I'm currently on, I will usually get up about 5 a.m. I'll get ready to go. I'll get out the door. It's still long before my family gets up. I'm out the door. I get to set. You have breakfast, get yourself ready for the day. You start the day. By the time you break for lunch 6 hours into the day, then you come back and then you hit it hard for another 6 hours, maybe more, maybe 8, maybe 10, whatever. Then you drive home. By the time you get home, even on a Monday, it's quite possible that some of your family members are going to be asleep, or they've just exhausted themselves with the day and homework and stuff, and they're going to bed after your young children are probably in sleep, most of the time. And with regards to your spouse, you're going to be exhausted. You're going to get home, maybe have a snack. If you work out and you're a beast like that, then absolutely do it. You're not going to have much time to do anything else, especially as you start to do a little bit more every single day to exhaust yourself. So you may start the beginning of the show at 100% ready to go and rest. But if you don't get home and go to sleep real quickly and then wake up with your turnaround and then go straight off to work, in that case, then you're not really involving yourself with your family at all. You're shutting out the outside world. You're going to basically be rested. But that means a quick shower. That means you're not going to have time for anything else. By the time you go to work the next day, you're going to be tired again. But if you have any kind of a care about life, living, you require more than 7 hours of sleep, you're going to be shorthanded on that. If you can deal with less than 7 hours of sleep, then fine, you might have more of a life. But even then, a lot of your commute time and shower time and stuff like that starts to cut into your sleep time. And on the weekends, you might have to work on a Saturday like I'm currently doing right now. I'm driving home on a Saturday because I work today. That means I'm going to go home tonight. I'll see my family a little bit. I'll see them tomorrow. And then I'll be editing at night after they go to bed, because that's what I do for these episodes of Sound Speeds. And then, of course, what happens? I go back to work on Monday and hit it hard again and do it. Now, you are well compensated. Let's talk about some of the benefits, because it's not just all doom and gloom when you work for the film industry. You are very privileged. Not just because of what you do and where you go, even though that is really cool. It's cool to see some of the really cool race cars and ships and airplanes, and I guess you could say even the actors are kind of cool to see. But even then, you get to go and do things like you go into places you don't normally have the ability to go into behind the scenes, or you go into places and buildings that you would not normally be able to. We were on the rooftop of a federal building. We were on the rooftop of a building that they bulldozed down. We've been in the top of buildings that are completely empty, roaming around. We've been in some of the craziest environments you can imagine, and things that are really cool to tell stories wise later, because people love telling war stories about the film industry. The thing is, though, it's not easy on the day, and it's one of those things where you might have cool stories, but you're going to be exhausted until the show wraps. And as soon as it wraps, your income is gone. You then try to pick up the pieces and see family and have a life again, but it's not always easy. If you travel, it's even more difficult, because you're going to be a family person trying to have a family relationship with your family through a phone. Now, I understand there's traveling salespeople. There's a lot of people that go away for the military or something like that. Yes, those are difficult jobs too, and don't let me downplay any of that stuff. All of these jobs are very difficult. But with regards to the film industry, it will tax you. It will stress you out. It will hurt your relationship. A lot of people will get white hair much earlier than you will anything else. You'll throw out your back. You'll get arthritis. You'll get weird joint-related things. Your eyes will go out because you're looking at monitors all the time that are flashing. You're going to be dealing with just all kinds of different things, not to mention doing it all while either tired or hyped up on some sort of stimulant just to keep yourself going. There's a lot of things about it that are good, though. You don't have to pay for meals. You come into work, you have a catered meal. 6 hours later, you have another catered meal. There's an entire department that's stocked with food and drinks to keep you hydrated and stuff like that. None of that you pay for. You don't have to pay for your housing and your transportation if you're going to be traveling anywhere. Obviously, that's picked up by the company. You are paid for rentals on using your own gear quite often. There's You could even rent additional things that you're not even necessarily using, and it rents at a very good rate because of the way that the film industry is actually structured for the most part. There are exceptions to this, like if you do studio work in California or one of the big production cities, then you may end up having to use the gear that they have as part of their on-site store. But as a general rule, you still have all the same luxuries that everyone else does. They'll get you coffee trucks and ice cream trucks, and they'll bring in entertainment maybe. You'll have a wrap party where, every few weeks or months or whatever you finish a show, you're given wrap gifts, free swag, you're given, all kinds of things. It's not just all doom and gloom. Plus, there's sometimes that you'll be on a high profile show and people will just send things to the show because they appreciate you. And they'll say, y'all are doing a really awesome job, you're going to get this. And you might get additional gear from a manufacturer, different things from a manufacturer. And yes, after a while, you end up filling up your whole house full of this stuff. And it's like, do I really care about it? Do I really not? You don't care about it after a while. It's like, cool when you first start out having you pick a lane, dude. He's flying past me. It's one of those things where you might appreciate it at the very beginning, wanting to wear swag from a show you did. After a while, it just fills up your house and it gets really old real quickly. But as a general rule, should you get involved with the film industry? Well, it depends on how enthusiastic you are about filmmaking. If you're a sound person, especially, then it's going to be difficult on your body. If you are doing E&G work or you're doing any kind of work that's not sit-down bag mixing, if you're not just working at a studio, like there's some shows that, like, if you mix a show, like for example a studio audience type show, you're going to probably be able to sit down and mix from a console inside of a studio and record if you're a recorder there. If you do some shows, then you'll simply lob people up and you'll step away and mix out of a bag. Those are more reality TV and E&G type stuff, but still, it's an option. If you're starting out, those are usually fairly easy to get on because the reality shows are usually easier for people to get on because when you're young in your career, because as long as you have the gear to handle it correctly and you handle yourself on set and you have the know-how, they're more than happy to have you in there, even if you're young, because that's when you're willing to do all the crazy stuff they want you to do. Have a bag around your neck for 4 hours, booming everything constantly for 4 hours because they have a salon that's open and they're just go, camera run over there, camera run over there, camera run over there, and you're going to do that. And as you're a young person, you can do it and not complain. When you're a little bit older, you don't want to push yourself like that unless you're in for it. That's the kind of thing you're really interested in doing. However, you have to do a careful balance. Mental health is very, very important. I know a lot of people that like working in the film industry, but they burn out very easy. Then they take it out on people around them. You don't want to be that way. You have to maintain your own mental and physical health. A lot of people have a hard time exercising during the week. I used to teach martial arts. I taught and I studied professionally even after I left. Since joining the film industry, I don't have time for it anymore. I also have a family with my 3 kids and my wife and other things going on, and now sound speeds. I don't have time for anything. So I'm pretty boring actually in the real world. I try to have excitement whenever I possibly can between shows or on long weekends, that kind of thing. But for the most part, I don't have time to play catch up with friends. Hey dude, I'm in your area. Can I come by to hang out tonight? Sorry, dude, I'm at work. Oh, okay. When do you think you're going to be home? 2 a.m. Really? 2 a.m.? Yep. They don't even ask anymore. My mom will sometimes ask me, if I'm available, can we do lunch? I'm like, well, if I'm working 14-hour days, I may want to go and have lunch with her someplace, but I'm not going to be able to get up early and get up early at like 9 a.m., have lunch with her, get out the door, have a good visit, and then get to set and work from 3 p.m. until 4 or 5 a.m. That's going to just make me a wreck. And being a boom operator, it's a very physical job. I have to pay attention. I have to be very interactive, be on my feet, thinking fast. I don't want to live off of just 5-hour energy, coffee, and caffeine like a lot of people. And some people also do drugs. This is a very, very fun industry in many ways, but it's also extremely hard on your body. So you hear old school stories of people telling stories about the old days of filmmaking when they were working 18 hours every single day, and a lot of people were all drugged up because it's the only way they could keep themselves going. And that's true. That happened a lot. Not necessarily to everybody, and it didn't happen to everybody, but it did happen a lot. It still happens to this day. There'll be people that we hear of, more often than I would really appreciate admitting to, that die of substance abuse. They won't tell you that, but if you inquire, dude, what happened to him? He had some inner demons. He had some substance abuse problems. Really? I never knew that. I mean, think about the celebrities you hear of that take their own lives. Those are just the celebrities. Those aren't the people making the movies behind the scenes. Oftentimes, celebrities aren't necessarily the ones that are on set every single day. They might be there for their scenes. If the shooting schedule is 45 days and they're a lead actor, they might be there for 40 or maybe even all 45 days. But if they're a secondary role, or if it's an ensemble piece, they might be there out of a 45-day shooting schedule. They might only be there 15 or 20. They might not even be there that many. It just really depends on the size of the show and what they're doing. The crew are there every single day. You'll push yourself to the point of exhaustion, and your immune system will start to fail you. So you'll get sick. Even when you're wearing a mask, you're going to get sick just because of the temperatures change, because of the allergies. They'll have no problem about working in the rain in the middle of a field. Your feet get wet. You're cold. You're wet. You're just like dying out there. And the producers are sitting in a tent with a warm heater on them while you're out there, miserable, and they don't want to get out of the heated tent, so they're going to say, let's do another one. They're comfortable, so they're going to stay there forever. That's miserable when you're out there in those circumstances. But sometimes the creatives are that way. They're just like, oh, let's do it again. They don't care, because they're there for the creative process, and we're there as, I don't want to say the grunts, but it very much is in some circumstances. But at the same time, we do get benefits. We are still full-time employees, but we have to maintain certain things. We still have to have the sexual harassment classes and maintain safety classes and standards. We still have to, of course, the COVID era, do the COVID compliance. There's a lot of things we have to maintain that way. But as a general rule, they will provide you resources to do all that for free. At my union, we have routine CPR classes that come up, and you get that for free. There are different classes for certain certifications, working out of a condor or a scissor lift or any of those kinds of things. They'll have free classes we can take, or it might only be like $25. We'll have the ability to do other things too that like, for example, my union will rent out Six Flags Over Georgia for a couple hours. So we'll have premium access to Six Flags Over Georgia for a couple hours before the general population. And they'll do that. Things like that will happen, and you'll have the ability to do that. You might have a stage that might have educational, opportunities. You might have the ability to, do any kind of other events like that. Some unions that you're, professional organizations that you're a member of, that you can join, they'll give you free screeners. So you'll have, well, not free because it's part of your membership, but you might only pay $100 or $200 a year, but you'll have the ability, if you're approved of membership, which it takes credentials to do that, you'll have the ability to be sent screeners. You'll be trusted with them. You'll have the ability to watch any movie basically that's up for award consideration. You'll have the ability to in some areas go to a movie theater, flash a card, and they'll let you in for free. Maybe not your guests and stuff like that, but you'll get in for free because, or you'll have screening opportunities, and you'll if your guild or your professional organization gives you that opportunity. So, I mean, there's certain benefits that you certainly have the ability to take advantage of, even with regards to sound speeds. When I first started this channel off, there is a bunch of credentials I had instantly by being able to say, I work in the film industry. It's something that I did not really lean on it and say, here's what I worked on, here's what I work on, and, you should listen to me, I do all this kind of stuff. You could have thought that I was just someone that does little school projects or something like that, or taking it to the next level. There's a lot of good information that comes from content creators with that background. But the thing is, though, there's still, I go back to privilege, the word privilege. We are privileged to do what we do, be paid for what we do, living in a world of fantasy and make-believe, and we have benefits from the health insurance and protection from, union requirements and stuff like that, protection against safety related concerns and things like that. But then there are violations of things, just like in any company. So you just have to think on your toes. You have to be aware of them. But here's the thing you got to ask yourself if presented with the question of, do you want to be in the film industry? Are you willing to sacrifice your mental stability, your health, your relationships and everything like that to create movies and television shows that are popular now, but probably will not be in only a matter of months, if not a few years. I mean, it is very fulfilling to be able to support my family as a sole breadwinner. It's not easy though. It's very, very difficult for me to keep myself going, just like it is for a lot of people. But a lot of it is momentum. You get yourself worked up, you get going so fast and so hard that you're able to do it. And it's something that some people have an easier time with it than others. Some people require more than 7 hours of sleep every single night. They would fall apart. Some people have health issues, and you're not going to be able to do this industry if you have health issues. If you are concerned at all for if you have a medical condition or something like that, you might have to find yourself an office job in the film industry and might not be able to be on set. It just really depends on you and what you're willing to tolerate and put up with, because it is not easy at all. So there you have it, the 5th installment of the Speed Bumps podcast. We are halfway through our test. If you've enjoyed this kind of content and appreciate what I'm doing here, then by all means, tell me down in the comments below, because I'm only committing right now to 10 episodes to see how well it goes. See if I can maintain this, how it's going to be with regards to editing and promoting and whatever, like, driving home, and can I do this? Can I maintain it? Do I have questions to answer? That's a big one too, because I do get a lot of questions and I try to respond to them when I can via email, and usually respond to, as of the time of this video, every single one of them that comes in. Is it easy? No. I like to do timely responses though. And if you have any questions, by all means, write them down in the comments below, because if I run out of questions, I may not continue the podcast simply because there's no questions to answer. Who knows? It just depends. You tell me what you think down in the comments below. But thanks for tuning into this episode of Speed Bumps, and I will see you in another episode with more questions answered, more pro sound tips, and as always, sound advice.
If you'd like to ask a sound-related question to be answered in a future episode, send text, audio, or video to ssp@soundspeeds.us. Do you want to record this outro, like I am, into the wrong side of a cardioid microphone, like an idiot? The details are in the description below. You can find Alan on social media and online at www.soundspeeds.us. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more sound-related content.